Hello everyone! Welcome to my Pokemon Prism walkthrough! I'm your host, DeoGenZ, and I don't mean to boast, but look where we are, guys. We are already in the first major town of this ROM hack, and we are just cutting it up like it's nobody's business. Today is going to be all about training our pals here, Rex and Talo, to be better fighters for the upcoming gym that we're going to. That's right. I bet you didn't think this ROM hack had gyms. Well, it does. It does indeed. And it even has mini-boss zones, like I like to call them, such as these places. The best way I could describe this place is kind of like similar to the Kanto Dojo next to Sabrina's gym in Saffron City. You know, the zone where in some games you can battle the guy and he'll give you a fighting-type Pokemon. Whether it's Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan, that's your choice. And voila. ROM hacks dropping rare candies on the floor? Sure, I'll take it. Will I use it? Not right now. But when I get into higher levels where it's harder to EXP up, then I may have to utilize it. Now, what's pretty awesome about running this game, the fact that it is a ROM hack, I mean, there's no other way you're going to find this but on an emulator, really. And some flashcards, I suppose you could make the argument for that. But on this second generation title, there wasn't many things to upgrade your experience points faster. That's why the first and second gen games, and I guess even the third gen, I'm trying to think, at what generation was the Versus Seeker introduced? I feel like it was Fire Red and Leaf Green. I feel like it was that time, and then Ruby and Sapphire had a similar trouble to the first and second generation titles where it was very hard. It was very difficult to raise a full team of high-level Pokemon because it was just difficult to get all those high levels. Most often you had to focus your EXP training to just one or two, maybe even three members of your party and just hope for all sakes that they can get through the Elite Four with that triple combination, that triple threat, if you will, of type combinations, whatever it may be. That's so funny, I just realized right now, Rex and Talo are 7-Eleven. Brilliant. Anyway, small little stupid borders aside, it's too funny, I get excited about my own textual borders, but, you know, I just noticed they are 7-Eleven. So, yeah, what's great about having this as a ROM hack is I can hyperspeed everything. You're not going to see that. Well, you kind of get a taste of it in the sped-up battles. But imagine doing this sped-up battle sort of thing live. And I may consider doing that. I may consider, to get out more Pokemon Prism walkthroughs, just speeding up the battles that we go through. If I did this on the fly, I'm not sure how it would look editing-wise, if it would look well done and final cut, all that kind of thing, but I may consider doing it to get more Prism episodes out. But with this, it's kind of a workaround, I suppose you could say, to get more experience points. Because instead of waiting for hours and hours and hours just to fight maybe, 10 opponents, you can verse them in the matter of 10 minutes by just hyperspeeding everything. Sure, it could be considered cheating, but in this game, in the second generation, much like the first and even probably the third, it was difficult to get experience points. You know, I'll tell you what though, here's where the second gen and the third gen tried to make a delineation, and they did this with the sort of Pokegear application for the third gen, and then they did it with telephone in second gen, where trainers could call you. And that was similar to how you could do it in Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, where you had that kind of Pokegear. I forget off the top of my head what it was called, but it was that version of Pokegear, that generation's version. And it would allow you to find trainers that you hadn't seen in a while, see if they were interested in battling. I remember you could actually rematch gym leaders too, which was pretty cool. But yeah, that was some of the first, I didn't consider it to be very well fine-tuned until Fire Red and Leaf Green, when they came up with the Versus Seekers. That was them trying to compensate for the lack of experience points, or maybe greater experience points you needed to make a more interesting team. Because let's be honest with ourselves here, guys. You can't really experiment with different team combinations and different strategies if you can't raise up your team. It's just not going to happen if your level can't increase. So that was the Pokemon Company's way of kind of subverting that. But I do agree with the thought that they were at the pinnacle when they reached Fire Red and Leaf Green. And let's see, what did they do after that? I feel like they messed it up somehow. Oh, they did actually. They had it going fine. They had the Versus Seeker working well in every subsequent title after that, except for Heart Gold and Soul Silver when they went back to the nostalgic phone call system. I just can't get a liking to it. I really can't. It just doesn't work as well and as streamlined as Verse Seeker does. Just stand by the person. Sure, you have to take a couple of footsteps so you don't spam the thing outrageously, but whatever. It works. Of course, speaking of training, if you want to see what today's solution for experience training is in the 5th Gen Unova region, just check out my most recent videos that went along with this one today. Lots of training on today's Pokemon episodes. Lots of training. And much like the Fighting Dojo, we have Fighting Master Ryu to take on as our mini-boss before we can carry on to the gym and earn our first badge in this Pokemon ROM hack. Very much unlike the Kanto region's Fighting Dojo, he does not have fighting Pokemon. Oh no. He's going very similar to what the gym is, Fire. Yep, we're going to be fighting a Fire-type gym first. And as memory serves, I don't believe we ever experienced a Fire-type gym first. So this should be interesting. And I believe we never faced a Fire-type gym first on the basis of the Pokemon Company not wanting to make it too unfair to players who chose the Grass-type starter. But since we don't have any starters to worry about, we have Rex, we have Larvitar, and that is our main partner, period. We don't really have to care about what gym comes first. And again, I mentioned that it brings up more difficulty. It brings up different training strategies where you thought you'd be okay in your normal trifecta of type advantage and disadvantages. You're going to have to rework that strategy when only dealing with Larvitar. Now, this opponent here, this mini-boss, is pretty tough. Pretty tough, I will not lie. I did have to re-record this during a live cast session to get back to that save point that I lost, as I mentioned earlier in this walkthrough. And upon doing so, I lost many times to this guy, and I actually had to go north of this Oxalis town, Oxalis city, to pick up myself a Marrow, not marrow, like bone marrow, but Marrow, the water-type mouse Pokemon. Sort of like a water Pikachu, many describe it as. But you can find that as a water type to aid you in your fight against the fire, not only in the mini-boss room here, but also in the gym. And now's a good time. You know, now would be a prime time to be training any type of water Pokemon that you've got with you. Whether it's the Lotads from the previous routes that we explored, or if you want to go Meryl, which I will in the future episodes. It's funny, though, because this recording here, I didn't want to spoil anything for myself. That's why I didn't go any more north to see what kind of training I could get, when really, that was the best strategy. And see, this is the kind of things that make me ponder whether or not I should do live recordings of Pokemon walkthroughs or not, because I end up learning so much more from rewatching my footage and then just going on different places afterwards that I feel like I have better information for you post-commentating on Pokemon walkthroughs than I would if I was just live commentating. Live commentary would be things such as, yep, that was super effective. I mean, sure, it's not going to be as dry and boring because I'm just not that kind of commentator, but it wouldn't be as informative, so we'll have to see. So find yourself a water type up north, and you can easily defeat this Fighting Fire Master, who will give you a Cyndaquil. Yeah, remember when I said forget about starters? Well, take this starter into consideration. After you defeat this mini-boss, he will give you a Cyndaquil. I think this is really excellent, and I am super psyched, super surprised, too, that they give you such a strong adversary so early in the game. Will we come upon other starters that are given away as gifts? We'll have to see. As I mentioned, guys, this could be kind of considered a blind run of this game, because I've never beaten it before. I don't know how far it is, how long it goes, where it even leads to. All I know is that we've got another super member to our team. Super Cyndaquil. It makes me oh so pleased that even though we are getting on in our crystal walkthrough, that we'll still have a Cyndaquil to travel around with, because Cyndaquil is one of my top favorite Pokemon. Really, his final evolution, Typhlosion, is my third favorite Pokemon, but I love Cyndaquil. I often wish I could just travel around with him just normal, just in my everyday life.